he's been a great stalwart for me personally, and a great book of history as a living historian himself. With that, I give you my father-in-law, Staff Sergeant Jack Buttine.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. I am grateful to be able to tell you a little of my own experiences. First of all, for years I proclaimed that I was the youngest veteran of World War II. I was corrected some months ago by a friend of mine, Tom, who's sitting right there, Tom Devine, has reminded me that he was a sailor, served in the Navy, and is a month younger than me. Tom Devine, please stand up. I volunteered for the Army at age 17, and after a couple of days after graduating from high school in 1944, the Army called me to the reserve and sent me to the New York University School of Engineering for 2 semesters. At the end of that time, I passed my 18th birthday. I got into the real Army. They sent me down to the South to train as an infantry soldier. And after my basic training, I took advanced training to prepare for the invasion of Japan. Well, by the time I finished my advanced training, within a couple of days, the Japanese, fearing my arrival, surrendered. But thanks to our President Truman, he had been informed by the War Department, the predecessor to our Defense Department, that the invasion of Japan would bring about 2 million casualties, 1 million Americans, 1 million Japanese. That was one of the influences on the president to stop the war and use the bombs. So by the time I was ready to go to Japan, the war was over, so it was not Japan for me. I was sent to the Philippines, Manila, and upon arrival, I was made a military policeman overnight with the responsibility for guarding the stockade for American prisoners and train Filipinos to take over the policing of their own city. And we did that, and the big event of the following year, 1946, was the independence of the Philippine Islands. President Roosevelt in 1936 promised the Filipinos that they would be independent in 10 years. And President Truman fulfilled that promise and made the Filipinos independent. Their Independence Day was the 4th of July, 1946. The guest of honor for those ceremonies, according to the President of the Philippines, President Rojas, was General MacArthur. They insisted that their hero, the one that they all admired and loved, be there for their Independence Day. My unit, the 738th Military Police Battalion, was called upon to provide an honor guard along with other units. And I was a staff sergeant at the time, and I was placed in charge of the honor guard to receive General MacArthur at the Manila airport. And we went there that morning, waited for his plane to arrive, and when he arrived, there was a small group of senior officers there to greet him. And as he chatted with them at the foot of the stairway to his airplane, looking at that group, there was no question who was the boss man. He had a presence and an appearance that lets you know he was the man in charge. He had the most unusual uniform. We wore what was called khakis, suntans. They're much like today's chinos, but officers and enlisted men wore the same, but not General MacArthur. He stepped out of that plane in a custom-tailored, tropical enlisted uniform, color the like of which we never seen. He referred to his uniform as being cocky, not khaki. He called it cocky, but it was obvious who he was. And he walked down and reviewed the troops and went into his limousine. Now, I saw that boy get in his limousine, And I saw that limousine once again, many years later, at the MacArthur Museum in Norfolk, Virginia. The limousine is there. It's the same car. And I looked around and brought back a lot of memories. It had on the plates, his 5 stars, and it was quite an experience. But back to Independence Day, he got the greatest ovation from the people. It lasted forever so long, and finally they stopped and proceeded with the activity. But getting ready for this day, I took some of the books that I have about MacArthur and read a little from each one about his experiences. And when I put the books down, I realized how long ago it was. 70 years ago. That's a long time. But it was my privilege to have that involvement, which is pretty remote, but involvement with the general, for which I was very pleased to be able to come and tell you about it. And with that, I'll say, God bless you all, and God bless America, the land we love.